Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Twant Lavish, and I am making a 2D animated series using Photoshop. I'm using my pen Wacom tablet, and I wanted to share it with you guys in case somebody out there would like to see my process. This is not a tutorial, but if you guys are interested and you like what I'm doing and you want me to go in depth, I will. I'll create a video just to show you guys exactly how I do everything from scratch. But I just wanted to share my process because I'm more focused on my story right now, and I do not make a tutorial channel. I am no way expert, but and it's a lot of people out there creating content, teaching how to do stuff. So what I wanted to do is just bring you guys into my process and just show you guys, what I got so far and how I created it. There's a speed through because the videos were very long, but I hope this just inspire you guys to just go out and create your own stuff, and also generate me a decent audience for when my series do come out. You guys would like to watch it. I will be releasing it on my YouTube channel. It's far from done. There's still some polishing has to do. There's so many scenes have to be created and different stuff like that. I'll be putting them out, step by step. But yeah, at this stage right now, what I'm doing right now is I'm using a size 6 brush, very small brush. I start with a black brush. I always do that with my outlines, and the reason why I wasn't commentating why I was doing this because it takes so much focus to really just get this done, so I couldn't really talk and do the video at the same time. It's just, for me personally, I would lose track and it'll take me forever to do this. It already takes so much time just drawing these images. You can notice right now that I'm using a 3D model because I originally do 3D animation, and what I am is a film director, and content creator. I tell stories with my films. I do live action films and 3D animated films, and I also do 2D animation films, which I haven't shared with a lot of people because I am really focused on telling the best stories possible. So for me, it doesn't really matter what avenue I choose, but some stories I want to tell it in a certain way. I have been working in Photoshop for so long. I didn't go to school to learn Photoshop. I taught myself how to do it years ago, and I've been using Photoshop for many years, over 20 years I've been using Photoshop. And I've been passionate about creating art for a long time, and I just love storytelling. What I'm doing right now is what makes this process bearable and easy for me, and because of the art style I chose, I am using 3D models to shape my characters because it's so hard to get the exact poses and to get the anatomy right all the time for me. Some people are really great at that and they don't have to go and look at something. For me, I have to have some sort of inspiration. I have to have some sort of image, and because I don't have a big team, I use this to help my process faster. If I had a big team, then it will be way different. I would have everything set up to way where I don't have to do everything like this. But I like this process. It works for me right now. So what I basically did was go in one of my 3D programs and create my characters, pose them. You'll see later in the video because I actually do it in this video. I'm actually using the film. I'm actually using a lot of Bruce Lee films. If you notice, my main character from this story, which his name is Capri 7. The whole story is named Capri 7. It's based on a military spy working with the government to stop terrorists. I originally was gonna make this a 3D animated series. I'll show you, if you stay to the end, I'll show you a bonus where you'll see a lot of my mock-ups and concept art. You also see some short footage of the 3D story that I was creating first, and also I also created another 2D art style which is more cartoonish than this, you know. So this one is more heavily based on real world people, you know. So I wanted it to look really good. But the main character, which is Capri in the white, he's based on and heavily inspired by Bruce Lee. I am a very big Bruce Lee fan, and I wanted to base my character on Bruce Lee. You know, as you can see, the character has my own features, you know, not all of my features, but you know, like he's heavily inspired by myself, because you know I study Jeet Kune Do and martial arts, and I'm a very big martial arts fan, especially Bruce Lee. I grew up watching Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee, and I'm very inspired by Bruce Lee. You know, and this story is heavily inspired by Bruce Lee. He's also heavily inspired by martial law, which is inspired by Bruce Lee, you know, from the video game Tekken. As you can see right now, I'm in the program Dash Studio, and I'm posing my characters. So Dash Studio is a really great program to pose your characters and get the position that you want. I also use the, you know, frames from the movie. You know, the particular movie that you see in the background is the film Fist of Fury, I believe. So I believe it's Fist of Fury, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I really love this scene, you know, and I wanted to recreate this. Not the entire scene, but just the movements that Bruce Lee did was it just was incredible, you know. And I wanted my character to be able to, you know, reenact that, you know. So what I'm doing is taking the best Bruce Lee moves and allowing this character to be able to fight like that, you know, and because he's supposed to be this elite military, you know, secret agent, and the government hires him to help them stop terrorists. It's also his mission to do that, because he had problems with terrorists, losing his best friend through a terrorist attack, and since then that has been his life mission, to stop terrorists from ruining the world, you know, and making the world a terrible place to live. I'm really passionate about this story, and it's a real dear story to me. So I really love this story a lot, you know, and I'm going through like a lot of heights just to create it. Right now you see what happened is it's rendering. Unfortunately, it renders faster for me because I don't have a lot inside the program, but if I fill this scene with a lot of stuff, it'll probably take a lot longer to render it. But because I'm only rendering PNG images, you know, it's so fast. So I just go take those PNG images, put them in Photoshop, and use them as templates to draw my figures. Once I got my figures, then I add my own touches, my own shades. I like this particular art style with the black outlines. I don't know, it just looks so cool, you know. And I always like the art styles like that with the black outlines, and you know, with the sketches. It's almost like an unfinished drawing, but you know, you could tell it still looks so cool, you know. And what made me want to turn to 2D, you know, because I love 3D. I really do. I really love 3D. I just felt a little bit more in control of what I wanted to tell. Now, don't get me wrong, 3D for me is a little bit, both art styles are hard. There's no easy route in this, so I can't tell someone that, hey, 2D is easier than 3D or 3D is easier than 2D. I don't believe that at all. I believe that both art style has its own challenges, and you have to just pick the art style that's best for you. You probably seen me like switch to YouTube is a good thing for me that helps me get through the process. It's music, just playing music. You know, my whole way through this thing, I was just playing music and just playing songs, just zoning out. You know, it's really good to have a source to where you can zone out and concentrate on what you're doing, you know, because your mind can easily get distracted, you know. At this stage, I'm coloring inside, you know. I separate all my layers, you know. I'm putting in my colors right now. And what helps me put the colors in really good, perfectly, without going outside that line is selecting it, you know, everything, selecting my outline and then inversing it. And once I inverse it, I contract it by 3. And that's hard to explain, but if you know Photoshop, you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't know, you want an in-depth tutorial, I'll do that. You know, just let me know, you know. But if enough people ask for it, you know, if only 1 or 2 people are asking for a tutorial, then, you know, I don't know if I want to do it, you know, because I got so much important stuff to do. But if enough people ask for it, then I'll probably create it. But for now, right now I'm just creating it, you know. I'm just creating this right now, just putting in all of the colors, you know, and I add shades to it, you know. I also use some of the 3D for hair patterns, a few clothes patterns, but I don't want it all the way look like that. So you see me like shading it out a lot to just, because I don't want to lose the art style. So that's why I stick with how it is, you know, how I'm drawing it. I don't want to lose the art style. And I'll use a Gaussian blur to just feather everything and just make sure everything looks good, you know. I don't want it to look too real, you know, to where it takes away the art, you know, and the concept that I'm creating, you know, if that makes any sense. So this process right now, I'm just pretty much adding shades and you know, kind of bouncing light, bouncing shadows. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing, just bouncing light, bouncing shadows, and just shading it out. Now I'm on the stage of just I like to create my own shadows. It's really important to create my own shadows for me. Instead of manipulating the character and trying to make him look like he got a shadow, I like to redraw my own shadow. It just look way more realer, it look more better. Then I'll add a Gaussian blur to the shadow. After I add a Gaussian blur to the shadow, I'll fade it, you know, with the opacity, you know, I'll fade it. I'll probably try to draw it a couple of times just to make it look real good, you know, and then I'll fade it. After I get it to the opacity down to a decent state, I can also change the, you know, the blend mode to fit the scenery that I'm in. If I change the blend mode to vivid, if there's coloring in my, you know, in my environment, you know, whatever the coloring of my environment, the light will bounce a lot better, you know. And this just come from just working in Photoshop for so long and just studying the program. And, you know, I didn't go to school for this. For anybody who went to school for it, that's great, you know, to learn all you can learn and understand what program you're using. It's really important to understand the program. But, you know, just working in Photoshop for a long time, it's got me to the point where I can get through a process, you know, fairly quickly. Not extremely quickly. It still takes a lot of time, to be honest. It takes a lot of time. Right now you just see a speed through, but just trust me, man, it takes time, but with patience and you care about it, you know, with effort, you'll get through, you know. And that's just how I see this whole thing worked out for me. As you can see through too, like I go and I use the eyedrop tool to just get the colors that I need, you know. I'll go back and forth to the previous image. I also use the 3D rendered image to get real world colors, you know, and just the way that I really want it to look. So it's really important for me to use my 3D software to help me too, because I like 3D, and it also helps me not lose my skill in 3D, being that I'm working on this project would be so much time consuming. So I get to still strengthen my 3D skills, and also work on my 2D skills at the same time. So I go in my 3D program and I'll create a character, and dress them up how I want them to look, and do all the cool stuff. Then I'll render them out after I pose them, bring them to my 2D software, Photoshop, and I get to do all the extra stuff. The good thing about Photoshop too is that you can create your own effects and all that stuff, or you can bring in effects. Then there's After Effects too, which I got to get better with, but that's another story. So I'm just creating another shadow for this character, and then adding a Gaussian blur, fading it out. And what I do is I put my shadows under my color so that it looks as if he's stepping on it. 2D is all about illusion, so you just got to get the illusion right. If you get the illusion right, it'll look good. It'll look realistic. It'll make sense. And I'm just shading the character right now. Just going through the process. And something about 2D that made me want to stick with 2D when I was making this. I guess part of it was because 2D doesn't come easy to me as much as 3D, but 3D doesn't even come easy to me. But I feel like it was just, for me, 2D is a bit more challenging. I guess it's because I don't have a drawing background, but I like to take on challenges, so I took that challenge on, and I'm sticking with it. I really like the 2D art style, and it's just something about 2D that I feel is missing in animation right now. Especially film and anime. Don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of anime, but like, I don't mean like anime because there's so much anime, and anime is great too. I mean like this particular 2D art style doesn't really exist like that. If you play the game Streets of Rage 4, and if you really pay attention to the art style instead of the game, you will see what I mean. That art style is highly needed in storytelling today. These backgrounds was created by one of the Streets of Rage creators, the background environment creator. I forget his name, but it'd be nice, to have these sort of backgrounds. Right here is early concept of my 2D animation. This is very early concept that I was doing. Very early concept. This is more cartoonish. When I was creating this right here, it was more cartoonish. This is before I decided to use my 3D characters as poses and framework and templates to get real world poses. So this right here was all hand drawn and just off the top of my head, and just create a more like The Simpsons, more realistic than that, but like, more like those kind of characters, more cartoonish kind of characters. But I was like, man, even though I like this art style, I wanted the characters to look a little bit more realistic. So I was saying, like, I'm still gonna use this, but this will probably be maybe something playing in the background of a TV, on a TV in the series, one of the characters watching it or something. I don't know. I'll still use it because I don't want it to go to waste. But this was the initial art style I was gonna use, so I was creating this, and then the idea came to me. It was like, I can get way better poses if I just render out my 3D characters, create the characters, and then pose them how I want to, and then bring them in Photoshop, and then redraw them. I thought that was genius, because then you can get all of the movements you want. You know, you can make all the expressions, everything look more realistic than just trying to create it off the top of your head. Now, some people are, like I said before, some people are really good with doing that. They don't have no problem with drawing the characters and the movements. But for me, I think that most people, you know, like, inspiration is really important to have something to look at. So when you create, and it's really important to have that thing that you can look at. It helps with the process tremendously. This is also, yeah, like I said before, this is also a part of the concept. You know, me just drawing the character, you can tell he's based on Bruce Lee. You know, very inspired by Bruce Lee. You know, yeah, I still love this art style. You know, this is really cool. You know, I still love this art style. I just wanted to take it a level up. That's why, if you see in the animation that I've been drawing lately, you know, the previous animation, you see that the characters kind of look a little bit more real world. You know, these characters look good too, but you can tell they all cartoonish. They all based on the same kind of body styles, and you know, but I still like it. Because I grew up watching Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and you know, The Simpsons and all the King of the Hill and all that stuff. You know, so I like all of those cartoons. So that's kind of, you know, the art style was kind of inspired by that, but at the same time, I was like, man, I want the characters to look a little bit more realistic. This is a mock-up of Capri, you know, the early stage. Like I said before, the cartoon style. This was the early stage of how he looked before I got to the place where I used my 3D characters and based him off of, you know, those renders. And the good thing about using 3D is, like I said before, I could change any pose, man, and make the character stick with the same consistency. The thing about 2D and 3D and 2D, is very hard to be consistent with your characters, you know, and when you turn them right, when you rotate the character and all of that stuff, and you draw in different angles of the character, you don't want to have like him look a certain way or the character look a different way when they turn, you know. So I use all of these Bruce Lee images just as inspiration. I like to gather a lot of inspiration when I'm creating something. You know, the way he holds his hands, the way he uses his fingers, and just all of this stuff, you know. So all of this was a lot of inspiration. I love the video game Tekken, so martial law is a lot of inspiration, which he's based on Bruce Lee too. So so you guys get the picture on that. You know, this whole thing is just inspired by Bruce Lee, you know. But I had my own story to tell, and I just was like, I always thought in my head, like, how cool would it be if Bruce Lee was like a secret agent and spy? But then, you know, it's like, I love acting, you know, and I love seeing myself or characters like me, and there's not too many black characters, you know, in cartoons, you know, that's like showcased, you know, as the hero, you know, and you know, look really cool. And I just wanted to be the one to create that, you know, which I like all kind of content, so it doesn't really matter the race. But for me, I wanted a character that looked like me, you know. So being that I'm creating it, so it just makes more sense for me. It makes me fall in love with the project even more, you know. So yeah. Also, guys, if you're interested, man, check out my other content, because I make live action films, I make 3D animation, short films, and different stuff like that. This is the first version. I was creating it in 3D, so this is some renders of short footage, but this is some renders of the 3D that I was creating, you know, before I switched to the 2D art style. And I was debating whether to keep it 3D and stay 2D. And I know a lot of y'all might be like, man, the 3D version look good too. It looks really good. And I still love this art style, don't get me wrong. But I felt that, you know, in the 2D version, it's something creative there that I haven't experienced, you know, in a while. And it kind of just it's generating the juices, man, to make me want to create more. And it's also challenging, intimidating at times, but you know, I decided to just roll with it, man, because you know, what's something without a challenge? You know, if it was all easy, then everybody'd be doing it, you know. So, but yeah, and plus, you know, 3D has its limitations too, and it's all technical. So if you're not a technical person, you know, you can't deal with the computer stuff, man. You know, understanding the software, then you know, you'll have a hard time. But I can deal with the 3D stuff, you know, but it's just so much stuff that I felt that I could do if I do it in 2D, which is very challenging, but you know, it's also like very rewarding when you create something, you know, as far as special effects and you know, and the art style alone, you know. And then you can get away with a lot of loss on frames, you know, when it come down to 2D. So you can get away with a lot. In 3D, it's hard to get away with frame loss, you know, like when you taking away frames. I love the way I I did this, you know. Yeah, I love the way I did this, you know. I have to showcase this in you know, at the end of some footage or something like that, or one of the scenes, you know, just as behind the scenes at the end of the credits or something. I don't know, but it's still cool, man. I know some of y'all might see this and just try to convince me to stick with the 3D and keep it 3D. And I still love it, man. I still like the 3D, you know. But something about that 2D, man. Just something about the 2D just made me feel like, I don't know, it really inspired me. It made me want to create, you know. If you guys really like this video, you know, man, please hit that subscribe button and just turn on your notifications and you know, leave a comment and let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like it? Which one you like better, the 2D, the 3D? You know, I really like this 2D art style right now, and I don't know, it's something about it that I don't know how to explain it. It's something about it that makes me want to keep creating it and keep it like this. It just looks so cool. And I think it's because this art style has been missing, and we don't see this all the time. When I first played Streets of Rage 4, I was like, man, this is so cool, man. This is so cool. The art style particularly. You can see, man, I'm just like stretching. I'm tired, man. I have been working on this for hours. So, man, it's just, but I love what I created, man. I hope this video was just like inspiring to someone and some way entertaining and enjoyable to see. It's your boy Twant Lavish. Love y'all, man. Thanks for watching my video. Peace. Take care. One love, one life. Be easy. Yeah.